Today I wanted to talk about the Yugas. Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dvapara Yuga, Kali Yuga. The Yugas, Y-U-G-A, Yugas are spans of time, very, very big spans of time. During Satya Yuga, everything is good, everything is pure. It's as if there was nothing, which is too hard for my brain to fathom. There was nothing, and then there was divine energy. And this divine energy had little specks of divine energy fall off of it or separate from it. And I don't think there was gravity, so I don't know if the word fall works. But anyway, these little specks of light came off of the divine energy, and it was just a speck of divine energy reflecting divineness back to the big blob of divine energy. So these little specks of energy came off just far enough to mirror the divine. During Satya Yuga, beings, these little flecks of light, beings, B-E-I-N-G-S, beings, live 100,000 years to 10,000 years old. And really, time is sensed very differently during each yuga. So it's not exactly like 10,000 years or 100,000 years in our time. Anyway, so they reflect back, reflect back, reflect back. Everybody's happy. Really, everything is just perfect and good, and it's full of light. And then between 10,000 years and 100,000 years, each individual flake of light or speck of light rejoins with the big ball of light or divine energy, however you want to talk about that. They worship through light. It's kind of boring. Satya Yuga is a really beautiful, pure. Sat means truth. Satya Yuga is the time of pure truth, just pureness. And everything, it's so pure that it's a little bit boring. And then it moves into Treta Yuga as time goes on. These flecks and these beings, they decide that they're going to go a little bit further away from, oh, that's nice in the window. That's like the divine energy. Let's see, there I can point to it. It's light like that. So they decide that they're going to go off a little bit further, and they kind of wander around the universe in groups. They don't stray too far. And instead of worshiping through light, they get far enough away that they worship through sound. So they're still worshiping the divine. These flecks are energetic, and they move similarly to a school of fish. So everyone is in agreement about everything. Let's turn left. Let's go check that out. Let's go faster. Let's go slower. I don't really know exactly what they do, but they go exploring. And things are still really, 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 really amazingly good. And this is also kind of the macro story of the Yugas, having to do with the whole entire universe. So there's Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dvapara Yuga. These beings start to explore the universe more, and they start to become solid. So they come into matter, and they worship through being together. And during Dvapara Yuga, beings can either be physical or energetic. There is psychic communication, a lot of the Disneyland sorts of things that you hear about in yoga, like, you know, if you look at the sun in the morning and you do this one mantra and this one breathing exercise, and you do it every day at the same time, after 40 days, you will have the gift of hearing divine sounds, or I made that up. You'll have a gift of some sort. Like, you go through a discipline. There's a lot of recipes that when I first started reading them, I was like, okay, how come is yoga a science? And it's amazing. And then there's like a Disney aspect to it where it just is not real. So anyway, all of those recipes for communication or levitation or whatever, having amazing experiences on the planet, growing the most beautiful fruit, all of those recipes actually worked during Treta Yuga. So Satya Yuga, light; Dvapara Yuga, sound; Treta Yuga, physicality and community. And during Treta Yuga, beings are just ecstatic to be in form and have gravity and have, they're just joyful and everything is really good. So people are still good and people are still mostly in agreement. During Treta Yuga, leaders begin to emerge. I actually think that that's where the problem begins. There are no problems. There might be a couple problems during Kali Yuga. Okay, so Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dvapara Yuga. During Dvapara Yuga, leaders begin to emerge, and a lot of the leaders are amazing, and they're very, very good, and they're lovely. And then a few of the leaders are like, let's take over the land, or let's become powerful, or let's hog all of the mangoes. Excuse me, that would be my idea. And anyway, so evil starts to come into play. And I don't mean evil like the darkest, evilest thing you can think of. I just mean not good. I know evil is a really strong word, but good is a really strong word too. Bad, I don't know. Anyway, evil begins to emerge. So during Dvapara Yuga, there's a couple of cool things. One is nearing the end of Dvapara Yuga, people start writing everything down, and they're writing everything down thinking that things look like they're headed downhill. It looks like things are getting worse. So they write down in these sacred texts, they write down ideas that they have that could help future generations to find peace and equanimity and grow food and get along and thrive in nature and have nature thrive. So they start writing things down. And I really wish that when I had learned this next thing that I actually learned where it came from. I don't know where this came from. In one of the ancient texts, that's a shit ton of texts. In one of the ancient texts, it says, during Kali Yuga, even food will cost money. And it really says, I think it translates like sustenance will be given to those who have alms or something like that. But basically, food might cost money in the future, and that's really problematic. So you can see where we're headed. Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dvapara Yuga, Kali Yuga. I know the most about Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga, Kali means darkness. Kali Yuga is the time of darkness, and people worship through alms, through money. The markers are miscommunication, misunderstanding, accidents, war, disagreements, and people can feel isolated even when they're amongst other people. And even in just the previous Yuga, Dvapara Yuga, that was not possible. Psychic communication was so easy and natural that if you were with someone, there was an automatic connection. And during Kali Yuga, people can say that they feel isolated even if they're in a room full of other people. Lying has to do with miscommunication and misunderstanding, but it's also actually a thing. And did I mention accidents? So during Kali Yuga, karma is not direct. During Satya Yuga, karma doesn't really exist. There's no karma. During Dvapara Yuga, there's not really karma during Dvapara Yuga. There's like the slightest, most subtle karma of physics, or of not even strong physics. And then, sorry, it's just super ethereal. And then during Dvapara Yuga, karma is pretty direct. So things make sense and accidents are very, very rare. And then during Kali Yuga, oh wait, okay, 100,000 years to 10,000 years is Satya Yuga. 10,000 years to 1,000 years old is Treta Yuga. 100 years to 1,000 years old is how long people live during Dvapara Yuga. And during Kali Yuga, people live 0 to 100. Kali Yuga is kind of the most fucked up yuga. So anyway, Kali Yuga has all these markers that are very familiar to all of us. And what else? Kali Yuga, you have to pay for food. Karma is indirect. It doesn't make sense. Oh, and also in all of the first yuga, Satya Yuga, everyone is 100% amazingly pure. And during Treta Yuga, people are pure. And during Dvapara Yuga, people are either good or they're not. And during Kali Yuga, every single being is a mix of good and evil. So no one is completely evil. That's the good news. And no one is completely pure. Also good news. Maybe, because we kind of feel isolated. Also, psychic communication is much more difficult during Kali Yuga, and we can even second guess ourselves. And also, we can self-deprecate. We can turn on ourselves, which before the miracle of being alive just didn't have that self-doubt or putting yourself down for any reason, making the self into an object or the body into an object, like actually being able to kind of, those are really unnatural thoughts, but they're pretty common during Kali Yuga. Okay, so you have a feel for Kali Yuga. The good thing about Kali Yuga is that a good deed goes a long way for erasing karma or neutralizing karma. And yeah, that might be the only good thing about Kali Yuga. Anyway, some people think that we are already coming out of Kali Yuga, and how we come out of Kali Yuga, the most popular charts, like the best ideas about this are the gentlest ideas, which of course we're all drawn to. And that goes like this. It goes Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dvapara Yuga, Kali Yuga, Dvapara Yuga. So some people think we're already just out of Kali Yuga and we are in the beginning of another cycle of Dvapara Yuga. So Dvapara Yuga, Treta Yuga, Satya Yuga, it's too boring, we want more action. Treta Yuga, no, there are no complaints. It just happens naturally. Treta Yuga, Dvapara Yuga, Kali Yuga, and it just goes on and on like that, cycling, like the seasons on Earth. However, Malk Baba said, most of the people that I know who I've talked to about this, who grew up in the culture that this information originated in, say, no, that's totally wrong. Malk Baba says, not true. It goes like this. Satya Yuga moves into Dvapara, or Treta Yuga moves into Dvapara Yuga, moves into Kali Yuga until done, over. That's it. It stops. Stops. Everything pauses. And then it starts over. Satya Yuga, which lasts, and also none of our I think I mentioned this, but during Kali Yuga, None of our calculations are correct. So there's like billions and millions of years, and each one of these yugas has a different number, but all of our calculations are incorrect. So I didn't bother memorizing any of those numbers. So anyway, Mount Baba says it starts at the top and it goes down to the depths of till we're finished, and then it's finished, and then everything just pauses. And when it seems like the right time, the divine energy pops back into existence. There's a cool story that I also learned to go along with this, and that is that Vishnu, okay, so right now in the Hindu pantheon of gods, the main trinity, the current trinity, is Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. Brahma is the creator, Vishnu is the maintainer, and Shiva is the destroyer. That is like, that is insultingly simple. However, we'll just use that. So so how this starts out is there's never a start. There's never a place I can get back to far enough to be like, okay, here's the beginning. So our world and our existence happens when Vishnu is asleep. When Vishnu is asleep, he's reclined on this serpent that has multiple heads over the top of his head. And when he is asleep, at one point, and this repeats, just like everything in yoga, everything is so repetitive, which is part of why I love practicing yoga and the pranayama that we do. I like all of and mantra. I like the repetition. I really love the repetition, and it takes the pressure off of doing anything perfectly. So anyway, Vishnu is asleep, and there's this being that is not named yet, swimming through darkness, swimming through darkness, swimming through darkness, swimming through darkness for a very, very, very long time. Sees a pinpoint of light, swims to it, takes a while, gets there. The light gets really bright, pops his head up, and his whole body shoots up onto this lotus flower. So then there's this being sitting here on this lotus flower, and he realizes he had fallen into Vishnu's mouth while Vishnu was asleep. Vishnu's asleep. Brahma falls into his mouth. I don't know where either of them were previously. Brahma falls into his mouth, takes forever, swims, pops up on a lotus flower out of the belly button of Vishnu. So Vishnu's asleep. Now there's a lotus flower out of his belly button, and sitting on the lotus flower is Brahma. And everything that Vishnu dreams, Brahma brings into Namarupa, name and form. So he brings it into existence. Glasses, flannel shirt, window, sunlight, couch, just like he has to keep up naming, sorry about that, he has to keep up naming every single thing that Vishnu dreams. So Brahma's the creator because he's naming it, and that brings it into form. And Vishnu is the maintainer because as long as he's asleep, he's going to keep dreaming. And in this dream, I don't really know what Shiva's up to yet. Well, Shiva hasn't been born yet because I didn't mention that. Anyway, there's a bazillion stories, but I think that story about Vishnu being asleep is when our universe exists. And then when Vishnu wakes up and is active with all the other gods and doing whatever they're doing, which seems like mostly partying and like lounging around and having picnics. Anyway, when he wakes up, that's the pause of we don't exist in any way. That's kind of the pause. Another cool thing that I know that was a partial story, but it's okay. We can get to stories another time. Another cool thing is there's been a lot of things that I have found out about mildly I don't read Sanskrit. I don't pore over texts. I just like good stories. So in the Vedas, I have either read a translation or had someone talk to me about different things. And it's like, I keep finding that the longer I live, the more scientists are like, oh my gosh, like quantum mechanics, the particle and wave theory, and the observer, what is it? The observer effect on particles and waves, like that whole thing. There's something about it in the Vedas. And the fact that scientists are now finding dark matter, dark planets are mentioned. They're part of the structure of the universe. They're mentioned in the Vedas. And then also scientists have just discovered that the Big Bang happened. So this is what I was taught when I was a kid. The Big Bang happened, like nothing existed. And I'm like raising my hand. Anyway, I probably didn't. I wasn't quite as bold. So the Big Bang happened and everything came into existence. And then our universe just kept expanding. They didn't know about, you know how we have jet streams on the planet? Well, there's powers out there in the universe that we didn't know about yet. So now scientists a few years ago have discovered that the Big Bang happened and then it got to a certain point and it paused. And it's almost like it rested, which makes sense for the Yugas like Satya Yuga. And then everyone was just so happy to like reflect light back to the light or reflect divine energy back to the divine ball of divineness. And also it makes sense because macro and micro, whatever happens in the universe is usually mirrored within smaller systems. Could be a garden, could be a continent, could be a person, could be a little bug. When we're pregnant, the sperm fertilizes the egg, and then there's all this like pretty quick cell division, and then it rests. And then there's more cell division, and then it rests, and the baby just keeps doing that. So it kind of makes sense that the universe would be like, oh my gosh, and then rest and pause. Anyway, it's kind of cool that people who study the cosmos have decided that the Big Bang happened and then there was a pause before the expansion happened some more. Dark matter, dark energy, light energy. And dark just means that you can't see it. Anyway, okay, so the Yugas. Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dvapara Yuga, Kali Yuga, and either they cycle through and we're on our way out of Kali Yuga, most hopefully. One time I had people come up to a whiteboard and just put a dot on where they thought we were on the cycle of Kali Yuga, like, and I'm always like trying to get it as high as possible to Dvapara Yuga if we're still in Kali Yuga. And I was surprised other people thought we hadn't reached the depths of Kali Yuga yet. I'm like, oh no, we've definitely reached the depths and we're coming out of it. And if it's Kali Yuga, none of us can actually know the correct answer. But we just call that personal opinion. Anyway, that was fun. And if you like that cycle, then you could think about where we are. Are we going? Is there a lot of Kali Yuga ahead of us? Did we just get out of it? What's going on? And you don't really have to think about it. And if Milk Baba and other people, the other thing is this Vishnu story that kind of mirrors the Yuga story is he's asleep for a really long time and then he wakes up and our whole everything is on pause. And then he's asleep and then he wakes up. And that cycle happens 9 times. And Milk Baba said the Yuga cycle happens 9 times. It's Kali Yuga. I don't think we can count. I think that's it. Thanks for hanging out and talking about yoga. Text me if you have any questions. Love you. Thanks. Bye.